You ready to take a moment out for yourself and head to the self-improvement room? Let's hang out this week. I am going to give you 3 quick ways to turn your life around right now. That sounds pretty freaking good, doesn't it? Let's head to the self-improvement room. Hey, I am Christy Davis. Welcome back to the self-improvement room. I love this place. I love this room so much so that I'm building a literal self-improvement room in my house. That's how much I believe in this room. And I'm so wonderfully grateful. I really, truly am that you join me each week and we can hang out and talk about stuff that is really meaningful and really life-changing. I just really, really love this stuff, especially because I've seen the kinds of changes that it can make in people's lives, especially my life, but even more so these days, the lives of my clients that I coach and the lives of my listeners. So feel free, if you ever have a moment to take out, feel free to send in how the self-improvement room helps you. If it is beneficial for you, if it is a moment that you look forward to each week and you take out for yourself, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear what you're getting out of it. All right, so this podcast is designed to help you bridge the gap between where you are now and the life that you want to create for yourself, okay? So I've spent, I think I've told you before, over $100,000 on education and over 8 years of committing to personal development every day of my life. Oh, and plus 30 years of living an absolute shit show. There is that as well. I had a very difficult life and I don't have that anymore. And I'm so grateful. And I want to show you how to change your life. Doesn't mean yours is difficult or shitty. But you just might have goals that you haven't reached yet, or there's a vision that you have that you just aren't making happen yet, or you just want to feel better. We can do all of those things. Now, I was looking for quick fixes all of the time. Okay, I wanted all of the hacks. I wanted all of the tricks. And I just wanted people to tell me the damn quickest way to the result that I could take. I wanted the quickest path, no matter what. And unfortunately, over time, I started to kind of get an inkling that there weren't really any hacks for this stuff. You had to do the work. But there are certainly a few fundamental things that I could change quickly that gave me a really solid foundation to carry on with transforming my life. Now, I didn't necessarily find those very quickly. Like I said, I spent $100,000 on education, so there's no way I found that those fundamental things very quickly. But I want to give them to you because I did find them eventually, and I'm going to give them to you for free right here because change doesn't have to be that daunting. It doesn't have to feel that way. Change can feel good and it can feel positive. And once you can accept that it doesn't happen overnight, change does not happen overnight, and that it's a lifetime journey and a commitment to growth, then it is much easier to accept all of the tricks in the world won't produce lasting change. Doesn't matter how many tricks that you try or hacks that you try, they're not going to provide you with lasting change. But as I said, there are tips or foundations that you can learn to help with your change straight away. Now, if you want to learn more about traits, then you can check out last week's episode where I talked about DNA and changing the person that you are and becoming the person that you want to be. So I will leave the link in the show notes if you're listening on your favorite podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, hello, I will leave the link in the description for you. All right, so here are 3 things that you can begin working on today to start making changes in your life very quickly, as in like right now. The first one is actually practicing taking action. I know it sounds like it's an easy thing to do, like take action, but it's actually really hard. It's freaking hard as shit to act on changing, to act on anything. This was one of the hardest things for me. But once I put it into practice, like once I practiced it, taking action made the most significant difference early on in my transformation. Not very early on, because it took me ages to realize that I had to even act. But it did make a difference. And when you feel stuck or overwhelmed, it's kind of easy to get caught up in that cycle of analysis paralysis, where you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, shit, it's so overwhelming. I just won't do anything. And like, I lived in a permanent state of that for 30 years because I don't know if you know much about ADHD, but one of the things is called ADHD paralysis, which means you become so overwhelmed with even just the normal daily life tasks that you kind of sit there and you just don't do anything. I think I saw a meme today. It was something like thinking about all of the things that I have to do, and there's so many that I just kind of sit down and start scrolling my phone. I'm like, yeah, that used to be me. Except I don't think I even had a phone at the time. Or I couldn't find it, no doubt. So anyway, as I said, when you are feeling stuck or overwhelmed, or you spend hours procrastinating, trying to come up with the perfect answers or plans or solutions, but you never take action, that's when you don't make any progress. You can think of the best plan in the world, but if you don't action it, nothing happens. Nothing happens. Now I live by this saying, which was actually one of the hardest things for me to accept, because even though I had ADHD paralysis, analysis paralysis, every kind of paralysis there was, and I didn't want to move or do shit, and I wasn't motivated to do anything, one of my biggest issues was wanting to be perfect, having everything perfect before I tried to attempt anything. So now my motto that I absolutely live by, even though I still cringe, which doesn't matter, is done is better than perfect. Now, there are heaps of things I need to change on this podcast. There's heaps of things I need to update and change on the website. There are tons of things I need to change in general when it comes to a personal development journey that I'm sharing with you. But if I didn't just start and take action, you would not be hearing this podcast. You wouldn't have heard any yet, because I'd still be sitting there working on my logo. And that was the last time I was very annoyed at myself, actually. I spent almost 8 full days just trying to come up with a logo. And it looks like it took me 3 minutes. So, sometimes I still occasionally get stuck in that paralysis. And I realize that that's because I put a lot of value on that particular thing. So I put a huge amount of value on this podcast and what I deliver in this podcast. So sometimes I can really get wrapped up with not moving forward, but then I have to remember done is better than perfect. So that just simply means don't wait until you think your decision is perfect or your plan is perfect. Just go ahead and do it and fix that shit along the way. That's what I have to do. Just fix it along the way. So that is number 1. You've got to practice taking action. Action taker, action taker, action taker. Number 2 is practice gratitude. Now, before you switch me off, because everybody says you should practice gratitude, and you're like, well, what the freaking hell have I got to be grateful for? Ain't no shit in my life I'm happy for. Again, that goes back to the negative mindset that we spoke about the other week. But practicing gratitude isn't, or it may not be, exactly what you think it is. So before you turn off the podcast or you stop watching the YouTube video because you don't want to hear that woo-woo crap, let me tell you why gratitude is so powerful. Scientifically, we are energetic beings, okay? So that means we are nothing but, or nothing more than, vibrating energy. Now that, again, comes from science. It's all quantum physics. And it means that when you radiate bad energy, then you are vibrating at a low frequency, which basically means you're a vibrational match for everything shitty around you. So think about how prawns go to the bottom of the ocean and they eat up all the crap. That's what it's like vibrating, at the lowest frequency. I mean, the good thing is you can raise yourself above that and those prawns taste pretty good. at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that they've been on the bottom of the ocean. So you can always lift your spirits, raise your vibrations. And one way to do that quickly is through the practice of gratitude, because that lifts your vibrations. So when you think about what you're grateful for, even if it's the eyes to read this or the food that you got to eat for dinner last night, once you start thinking about things you're grateful for, you will lift your vibrations, which means you then become a vibrational match for better things. So just like radio stations, when we're programming them, we've got to look for the right frequency. So it has to match the right frequency before we can hear the music. That's like our life. The universe vibrates and on different frequencies, and wherever you're sitting, that's what's coming to you. And as I said, I think last week, a lot of people think this is the woo or magic, and it's not. It can be if that's what you want to call it, but it also comes down to just quantum physics. There's so much scientific research now to show that our vibrations and our moods and what we think and what we feel, more so than think, what we feel is really what creates our future. Thought becomes things. And the science is now backing that up. And it's a really exciting time in life in general, because the spiritual world is now kind of meeting with this science world, and we're all finding out that we're all on this same path of belief. So as I said last week, I will delve into that stuff more. But for now, just know that to raise those vibrations and to feel good, like right now, then you need to start thinking about what you're grateful for. Once you start thinking about things that you're grateful for, those vibrations will lift. You will be a match to better things, in turn improving your life. Now, I keep a journal and I write what I'm grateful for each day. In fact, I write what I'm grateful for that hasn't even happened, because I know that it's coming. I know that it's happening. So I have that really strong belief that, I can achieve whatever I think. And I've seen that happen. I've proven that to myself time and time and time and time again. I keep a journal. I write it down each day, what I'm grateful for and what I'm grateful for in the future that hasn't even come. And in turn, that leaves me feeling grateful when I wake up. It's a really great way to start the day, because even when I go to sleep, I'm thinking about, what have I been grateful for today? So in the morning, I've started the day with this journal, and I felt grateful for the day. And then in the night, I think about gratitude again. And then I'm waking up feeling grateful, feeling refreshed, feeling happy and excited for the day. And that's something that I never, ever, ever felt. And it's an amazing feeling. And it just comes from practicing gratitude and practicing being happy. So that's number 2 of the quick ways, 2 of 3 of the quick ways, or the quickest ways to turn your life around right now. Start practicing gratitude. And number 3, know where you are headed and commit to it. Now, you can have the best GPS, Global Positioning System, I think that stands for, in the world. But if you don't know the destination, then there is not a GPS on this planet that is going to be able to take you there. Let me tell you right now. So take some time out of your day at some point, even if it's right now or straight after this podcast or this YouTube video, if that's what you're watching. Take some time out to figure out what you want. Now, you don't have to have your whole life mapped out, but an idea of what you want in your future will give you the motivation to commit to your transformation. And as you transform, you will figure out what it is you want. I knew deep down that I wanted to talk about personal development for a really long time, probably the last 5 years, really. And I even started my music career coaching business that I had before this when I knew deep down I wanted to do personal development. I just snuck a lot of personal development into the music career coaching because I was good with the music career. I had a very successful music career. And I went away in December to try to focus on this year's content for what was called Release Queen, which is my music career coaching business. And I went away and I had 3 nights, or maybe it was 4 nights. My husband's very good to me. He understands that time's really important. That was to plan for this year for Release Queen. And I came back and I said to my husband, I was just stuck for 4 days. And on the 4th day, I decided that's it. I cannot take another day of not doing this personal development stuff. So I went there known as Christy James, even though I'm married. I've been under my music name, Christy James, for the last 12 years. It's my kid's surname as well. But I came back after this little retreat as Christy Davis. And although I'm legally Christy Davis, it's not a name that I use on social media or out there in the world. So I came back as Christy Davis and I wanted to show up authentically as Christy Davis and talk about this. So, I didn't know where I was headed specifically, but eventually through commitment, through consistently transforming, I found my way there. So I had an idea of where I wanted to be. But if you've got no idea at all, then no GPS is going to be able to take you there. No system is going to be able to get you there. You're just going to wake up in the same place, doing the same things every day, and that's going to cause you to lose your happiness and your zest for life, because that's what happened to me. I'm like, let's see what tomorrow brings. Oh, it's the same shit as yesterday. Let's see what the next day brings. Oh, it's a child at 21. Let's see what the next day brings. Another child at 23. I am done seeing what the next day brings. I'm going to focus on figuring this shit out beforehand. So I figured it out, committed to transforming each day, just that little bit. When you don't know what you want in life, it can be very, very hard to feel that fulfillment. So you have nothing to chase, nothing to motivate, nothing to wake up for. It's just more of the same each day. And trust me, I know, because that's how I used to live. Building that habit will change your life incredibly fast. Practice gratitude so you can be a vibrational match for a better life and know where you're headed and commit to getting there. Start implementing those 3 things into your life today, right now, and start watching the change come about almost instantly. All right, they are 3 of the quickest ways to turn your life around starting right now. So put them into practice, see how they go for you, and keep working at it each day. Now, before we finish up and close down the self-improvement room for the day, we are going to answer a question that has come in. Actually, we've got 2 questions this week that have come in. Now, as I said, I will leave the link in the show notes if you are listening on your favorite podcast app. There'll be a form if you are listening on the website. And if you're on YouTube, I will leave the link in the description for you. And all you have to do is fill it in and send in your question. And just remember that any advice that I do give you on the show is just my own personal experience, my own personal education, and you should absolutely do your own research before you start making big changes. Alrighty, so last week we had an episode about DNA, and that's this first question. So, again, everybody that writes in remains anonymous, so no worries about using your name. All right, so the question is, hey, Christy, I am really enjoying visiting the self-improvement room. That's really cool. Yeah, I enjoy visiting the self-improvement room and having you here as well. So your question is, my husband is a wonderful man, but he does not believe that we can change who we are, and we are stuck with being just like our parents or just like our relatives. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, there are 2 types of mindsets. There's a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And it sounds like your husband could be sitting in the fixed mindset. And I guess the only real way to show him that may not necessarily be the view that you share is for you to change. So if there are things that you want to change, if you are wanting to be a more positive person, or if you want to show more love or self-care or care for or love and affection for your husband, work on making those changes. Work on being the best version of yourself, and he will see that. And then he will start to question whether or not, hang on, maybe you actually can change. Because the whole, a leopard never changes its spots. That saying really gets to me now, because firstly, a lot of people said that about my dear husband. And he's the most magnificent husband on the planet. So I don't believe that we should be tied to whatever our spots were at one point in time, at one point in our life. I'm certainly not the person I was. Some leopards never change their spots because they just haven't tried to. They haven't focused on that. They haven't been self-aware. So again, if you change, if you start by making the changes, then he will see that, and hopefully that will start to broaden his perception, and it will start to weaken that fixed mindset, and he might start to grow with you. And then you can have more conversations about that. But without him seeing it firsthand, it's probably going to be very difficult to get him to believe you. It's really about getting him to a point where he can experience the change or see it for himself or learn it for himself. Again, I think I said this in one of the previous episodes about my sister, coaching her with her budget. She made all of the decisions. She chose the amounts that she's saving. She chose the amounts she was spending. She chose when. She chose where. She chose how. I just showed her how to structure it. And that's the only reason it's working. Had I not given her that freedom to get there herself, well, I know what happens because I've already tried to do it before. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's got to be their decision. So, yeah, I suggest you start with your own changes and lead by example. All right, and the second question that has been sent in is, and I think this might relate back all the way to the opening, episode number 1. So this question is, do you have to hit rock bottom to make a change? I remember you said that you hit rock bottom and that's what made you commit. I'm just wondering if we all have to hit rock bottom before we make those changes. You know what? This is such a fantastic question. It really is. And my answer is I would bloody hope not. I would really hope you do not have to hit rock bottom before you make your changes. The truth is, it is just about choice. And for me, my rock bottom moment showed me choices that I didn't know I had or I didn't think I could commit to. But if you're already here listening to this and you are already looking into or delving into self-improvement or personal development, then chances are you know that you have options. You know that there are ways to learn how to commit better, to learn how to create habits. So you're already way, way ahead of me. I just got to the rock bottom moment that I had because I wasn't around anyone that spoke about this stuff. I was quite isolated. My parents certainly didn't know anything. They were on the welfare. They didn't know anything about self-improvement or personal development. In fact, my mum is starting to learn because I'm always talking to her about it. But some people are just stuck in their ways so strongly that they won't make the changes, but not you. So as I said, I was around nobody. I was isolated. I didn't know that you could change. I didn't know that you could grow. It wasn't until I couldn't take another moment and I decided that Even if there wasn't such a thing as personal development, I was going to make it up. I just got to the point where I was going to create an answer if there wasn't one there. So you don't have to get to that point. Absolutely not. You can make those changes easily just by knowing what options you have. Coming here each week and listening to the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, just educating yourself. Educating yourself is the best gift that you can give yourself, and it's the best gift that you can give your family. It's absolutely the best gift that you can give yourself and your family, being the best version of yourself. So no, you don't have to wait till your rock bottom moment. In fact, please don't. It's not the best way to want to make change. All right, I hope that answers your questions. Thank you for sending those in, and please keep them coming. Eventually, I would love to get people on the show so they can ask their questions. But for now, please fill in the form and send in your questions. It's super simple. Just got to write first name, address, and your question. And if you don't have any questions, but you want to join our what I call the Inside Edition, so they're like my personal little notes, tips, hacks, tricks, things that I send you each week through your email, then all you have to do is fill in your name and address on that form, and don't worry about the question section. Just leave it. And we'll add you to the Self-Improvement Room Inside Edition. All right. Thank you very much for joining me in the Self-Improvement Room. I am truly humbled and very grateful that you're listening and we get to share this information together so that we can lead to transformation. Join me in the same place, same time next week. And remember, over time, a little each day becomes a lot. So a little bit of change each day becomes a lot. All right, have a fantastic week.